Hello and welcome to the video. Today we are looking at the second part of my Abu Dhabi to Jakarta 2-point run with Sri Lankan Airlines and the return trip from Jakarta to Abu Dhabi via Colombo. Well, that's what it should have been. I experienced a number of cancellations in the run-up to this trip, including the return leg from Colombo to Abu Dhabi. But as a result of watching other videos like this, I was aware that there was an alternative flight that went from Colombo to Dubai at a similar time. And so that is an option if a cancellation occurs, as it did for me. So I transferred onto the flight into Dubai, and I'm glad I did, as it turned out to be the best trip of the 4 that I did with Sri Lankan. As a result of all the cancellations and itinerary changes I was subject to, I ended up with 2 trips on the A330-300, 1 on the A330-200 and 1 on the A320. Originally I had 2 on the A320 and 2 on the A330-200, so the changes actually worked well for me, although it did influence what I ended up with. I'll summarise what I thought of the whole trip at the end of this video, but I think it's important to remember that the cost of this round trip is about £800 all year round, so only £200 per leg. £200 for 4 hours in business with this level of service plus the tier points is exceptional value on any day of the week, in my opinion. So here we are then in the Sapphire Plaza Premium Lounge at Jakarta Airport in Terminal 3. Sri Lankan don't have a dedicated lounge here, which is not a huge surprise, so this is the lounge they have access to. Now, before I even got into the lounge, I knew that my Jakarta to Colombo flight had been significantly delayed, and therefore I was going to miss my Colombo to Dubai flight. And so it's very much a case of getting a coffee, getting a bit of food, having a quick look around at the lounge, and then getting on the phone to try and work out how I was going to deal with the missed connection. But let's concentrate on the lounge for a minute. They had this a la carte menu, which was limited, but a nice touch, I thought, and I had the Caesar salad and the Thai beef salad, and they were both very pleasant. You could go back for as much as you liked. They gave you a buzzer, similar to the Cathay Lounge in Terminal 3, to tell you when your food was ready. Yeah, no issues, it was all very pleasant. Once I'd had a decent look around, I knew it was time to get on to Sri Lankan and try and organise my onward travel from Colombo, because at the current rate I was going to miss my connection. So what were my options? Well, one was to stay overnight and get on the Dubai flight the following day. I didn't want to do that because I would miss my connection from Dubai back to London, which was with Air France. Or there was an alternative, which was to try and get on the Colombo to London flight. Communication with Sri Lankan wasn't too bad at this time. I was getting fairly quick responses to emails. The guys on the end of the chat facility couldn't really do a great deal. And on the phone, again, not too bad, but they had trouble grasping what I was after when I was trying to get on that Colombo to London flight. I ended up with a message that said that they would hold the Colombo to Dubai flight, which seemed a bit too good to be true, but that's what I was left with, and I thought, well, if that doesn't come off, I'll just deal with it when I get to Colombo. A couple of hours late then, the flight to Colombo was ready to board, and it all seemed fairly orderly when I got down here, and not for the first time today, I was escorted onto the aircraft, which I thought was a really nice touch. This was the A330-200, which of course has the older business class configuration of 222, and no surprises really. I'd seen it on other videos. The cabin really was starting to look a little bit on the older side, but like with a lot of these older seats, they're often quite comfortable, so I was looking forward to seeing what it was like. I did find the seat a little bit difficult to master, but that could well have been down to too much wine, I'm not sure. But once you got the seat into the desired position, it was comfortable, there's no denying that. And once it was in the fully lie flat position, again, comfortable, plenty long enough, and I got plenty of sleep. And here is the beef fillet. It was tender, very tasty. I didn't eat much else, I wasn't too hungry, but overall I was impressed with the food, as I have been on most of these flights.
Thanks very much. Okay, goodbye, sir.
This was going to be the moment of truth then, had they held the flight to Dubai or not. And to my surprise, they had. I can only imagine there must have been a few of us on this flight, Tim, from Jakarta that had to get on that flight. But yeah, great news. It was off one and straight onto the other.
Thank you. Hi. 2K. Okay, thanks a lot. Oh, hi.
The seat on the A330-300 is much more modern than the A330-200. It's a newer aircraft, and I covered it in the other video where I went from Abu Dhabi down to Jakarta, but it's a good seat. I think it's not dissimilar to Club Suite, obviously an older version. Seat controls were intuitive, albeit those had seen better days. Table, no problem here, all very sturdy, not difficult to get out. Connectivity was USB-A and 3-pin plug. There was a small amenity kit, just the socks and the eye mask. I mentioned that this had been my favourite flight of the four, and to be honest, that was purely down to this curry. It was incredible. Definitely tasted a lot better than it looked. It was one of the nicest curries I think I've ever had. Dessert, again, good. It looks a little bit dry there, but it was actually really nice. And then the tea and liqueur trolley. I must have missed this on previous flights. I must have gone to sleep, got the bed out, all the rest of it. But this was great. A cup of ginger tea and a glass of drambuie, and eventually a glass of wine as well. Absolutely lovely. To summarise then, what did I think of this trip? Well, as I said, I was subject to several changes and cancellations, but I always seemed to be able to make the most of them. I got to spend one more day in Indonesia than initially planned, and ended up spending more time on the 330-300, which is the jewel in the crown of the Sri Lankan fleet. But such bumps in the road may not be everybody's cup of tea. It's well documented that Sri Lankan has had its fair share of problems with serviceability, which is no great surprise with an ageing fleet, but the crews were always excellent, as was the food. For the price you can't beat it. You virtually get British Airways Executive Club Silver with this trip, and if you time it right, that could last 2 years or thereabouts. And personally, I would value Silver status at least the cost of this trip. In terms of a trip to Jakarta, as I hinted at previously, do your preparation, and your experience at the airport should be fairly straightforward. Mine certainly was. Get your mobile eSIM sorted before you leave the UK, get your eVOA done, your electronic visa on arrival, get your customs declaration done. You can do that within 3 days of arriving, and prep a taxi app. I use the Bluebird app. So there you go. I hope you found this useful. I have a few more videos to come about the experience in Indonesia itself, and then in about a month's time we're off to Mexico for the annual parents only holiday and trip in BA first class. We will also be flying on Volaris, United, Domestic, 777 business class, and BA Club World old seat on that trip, and of course it will all be documented. So please subscribe if you've enjoyed this, and hopefully see you in the next one. Bye for now.